Alec Hogg caught up with leading business thinker and the architect of disruptive innovation, Clayton Christensen, at the Accenture Innovation Conference to talk about his work. Let's take a look.
What would be lovely for me is to have somebody else who does great work and have not yet been organized for their work to have them have the achievement. I think I would be happier.
But it is extraordinary how your work has shot into the limelight. The father of disruption, you're called. Do you think it's being overdone, the focus on disruption around the world?
Well, yes and no. You know, it really has been misabused. I had a stroke, and sometimes I miss it. I'm sorry. People use it in ways that are not meaningful, you know, and they don't take the time even to understand what disruption means, and then they apply it in any way so that they can justify whatever it is they want to do in the first place, you know. And this happens a lot. Michael Porter had a word called strategic, and people who want to justify whatever they want to do, they say it's a strategic investment. And Thomas Kuhn gave us a word called paradigm, and it's misused, and so disruption is being misused a lot. But it's had a good, the impact it's had is because it's a good theory. It really is a piece of work that describes causality in an important part of a manager's life.
Innovation, though, The Innovator's Dilemma, your bestseller that is one of the top 5 business books of all time, according to most analysts. I guess that's more what you'd like to be known as a person who's promoted innovation rather than changing society.
Yeah, that's right.
And the world needs it now, right now, more than ever.
Absolutely it does, you know. And you have, especially the next generation coming up, needing to get jobs. And if we don't solve the innovation paradox, you know, there's a whole generation of people who won't have jobs. It's because innovation is what causes jobs to emerge.
With machines taking over increasingly the jobs done by human beings, how do you see a solution to this dilemma?
Well, it's really, it's a good question. On every dimension, there is consumption and there is non-consumption. I'll give you just a silly example. One of my students loves art, and she decided that there was an enormous amount of non-consumption of art. And what she meant by that is, when you move in a new apartment or a house, there's a big wall and there's nothing on it, and so you go out and find a piece of art and stick it there. And for the next 3 weeks, whenever you go past it, you stop and you look at it and you say, boy, that's beautiful. And you're consuming art. But after about 3 weeks, you forget it's there. And yet you don't go buy another one because it's occupied, and you become a non-consumer of art. And so what she said was, I'm going to start a company that makes it easy for more people to consume art. And so she sells them a flat panel display, high definition, and every 3 weeks you get another piece of art. And non-consumption became consumption again. And when you think about it in that way, there are huge amounts of non-consumption of a lot of the world, you know, and if we make it easier and simpler for more people to consume whatever we're talking about, there's growth. There's a lot of non-consumption of education, for example. You know, and if we make it easier and simpler and more effective to consume education, a big, I would say almost a stagnant industry will become alive. And there are a lot of these like that.
That's something you talk a lot about, education. In fact, I watched one of your videos where you said that the Harvard Business School, your own employer, is under threat.
Oh, it is. Yeah, it's, let me put it this way. One of the biggest problems in society and in our lives is that somebody in the past decided to separate things that should be together or put things together that should be separate. And that's created a lot of problems. So for example, somebody decided that you have the Sunnis and Shiites and Kurds, and let's just put them all together and we'll call it Iraq. And putting them together when they should be separate has caused all kinds of problems. Well, somebody in the past decided that education should begin when you you are admitted to school, and that it ends when you graduate and then you have your job. God didn't put the boundary there. Somebody did, but it wasn't God, And we need to just learn how to provide education about management through the whole life of a manager's career, so that they learn from us and we learn from them, rather than regarding education as an event that has a beginning and an end.
So lifelong learning.
That's right. And it's really important for all of us.
Clay, in South Africa, we have a great need here for different thinking, for innovative thinking. Perhaps political ideology, perhaps our history is shaping the way some of the leaders are taking this country. How do you open one's eyes, rather than what business is doing here, trying to poke it out almost with a stick?
Number one, data will never solve this problem, because data is only available about the past. Data is always incomplete. And if you try to win an argument with data, the next day they use data to reverse whatever it was you've accomplished. So that doesn't work. But what does work is you need to have a theory of causality, of what causes what and why.